Well, welcome to Mr. Obsolete's traditional toy train video for 2020, featuring American Flyer trains. The video we did in 2019 was talking about American Flyer trains that were made after World War II. This video we're going to concentrate on the ones made before World War II, pre-war. I'm going to start out here. This engine and these cars were introduced in 1920, 100 years old. They're all made out of tin. And this is what's called O gauge. Originally it was called zero gauge because trains that came into the US prior to the turn of the century and stuff were mostly German. Those trains were 0, 1, 2, and 3 gauge, and 0 gauge doesn't sound good to the American public, so some con artists came up with a O gauge, and that's what it's stuck with today. Little engine is 7.5 inches long. Cars are about 6 inches long. The engine is painted and has plated trim and stuff. It has a little bell on the front, a headlight, and this is supposed to represent a pantograph for electric power pickup on a real train. And the cars are made out of tin, but what looks like paint on them is not paint. It's called lithographing and stuff, and so the features of the car were imprinted into the metal. As long as they don't get scratched, it's very durable and looks really good. This car, the sides are lithographed, but the top is painted. And the same with the caboose here. And the sides are lithographed and then it has painted top. So we're going to run these. Unfortunately, this one I can't run because the wheels on it are made out of zinc and have zinc rot in them, and they're swollen up and it won't fit on the track anymore. So I'm going to have to get some reproduction wheels and re-wheel it. The motor runs good though. It's amazing. Toys that still run 100 years later. Stuff is really good. We'll be right back. Well, for our next set is a 1925 Flyer set again. These are all going to be Flyer today. These represent the Milwaukee Road. The engine is an electric style engine. The car here has the little operating doors and stuff. This is a baggage car. And a couple of coaches. And it's interesting that just to cut corners, they all have the same name on the side, which says Seattle. But the real train actually had Tacoma and Seattle, different cities on it. And the rear car, this is what's called an observation. Had a little deck on the back here where the passengers could go out and look where they've been and stuff like that. There again, they're lithographed tin. The engine is just painted tin. But let's give this one a run. Okay, we're ready to try it out. How's that for 95 years old? Well, our next set is a 1926 set. This is the engine. You'll see it's different from the earlier one here. This is what's called a steeple cab with the cab in the center and a sloping front and back. This is called a box cab because of obvious reasons it looks like a box. There again, it's an electric style engine. It's supposed to be a pantograph and a bell, and then you get a headlight. About 7.5 inches long. Same Basic chassis is this one. And then we have a baggage car, a coach, American Flyer Lines it says on them. And then the observation there again with the deck on the back. So this set was produced from 1926 and 1927. So we'll get on the track and give it a run. Be back in a few. Okay, here comes the 1926 special. Not bad for 94 years old. Well, we'll be back with another edition shortly. Okay, well this is an old set I picked up quite some time ago. Has the original track in it and stuff. Well, we're moving into a more modern era, streamliner era. This is a 1935 Comet set. It's made out of lithographed and painted tin. This is kind of the poor man's streamliner set. But here's the coaches. These also came in a wind-up. This particular one is an electric version. And the cars are articulated, so each car hooks onto the other and only has one truck on it. And then the tail car, I can get it out of here. Sticking it here a little bit. There we go. That's the tail car, which is exactly the same as the engine, but does not have any power in it. So we'll get on the track and give it a go. Hey, here we go. Okay, well, we'll get our next set out. Well, this is a 1935 deluxe version of the tin train. This one's made out of cast aluminum, or what they used to call it in the books, duralium. That was a fancy name for aluminum. But very detailed, very nice. Coaches have window inserts, they have vestibules between the cars, just like on a real one. There's a real ornate boat tail on the back there for the observation car. So we'll get it on the track and give it a spin. Well, here we go. Well, we'll stop at the station here briefly. And there you have it. 30 streamliners. That was a fantastic era. All these designers made all these really sleek, interesting looking railroad engines and cars. automobiles, all kinds of things. If you like history, there's a lot of stuff out there on it. So we like history with our stuff. We'll be back in a bit. Okay, here's a 1940 O-gauge engine. This is the last of what they call the Tinplate series, where everything's made out of stamped tin. All the sheet metal here is all tin. Has die-cast wheels and stuff, but it's still pretty much toy-like. But really nice stuff. And then the little coal tender here is made out of tin. It says American Flyer lines on it. Here's one of the cars. Now the one thing that they changed on these is they went to this link coupler here, and that was carried on to the trains they made after World War II, which were 3/16 scale S gauge with 2 tracks instead of 3 like the early stuff. Here's the caboose. Anyway, we'll get this down and run it a bit, and then we'll come back and talk just a little bit briefly about the first 3/16 scale engines. Okay, here we go with our 1940 last year Tinplate steam engine set. Okay, we'll be back in a second and show some differences between the scale and the toy trains here. Okay, well, like I say, this is 1940. This is the last year for the toy outline engines. This came out in late 1940 and was produced till 42. It's 3/16 gauge. It eventually became S gauge after the World War II, 1947. Die-cast tender, you can see it's a lot more scale-like. The boiler on here is like a Pennsylvania style boiler and stuff. A lot more modern looking and stuff. So there again, here's a Tinplate car made out of metal. And here's the replacement after World War II out of plastic, same basic car. The other thing that changed is early trains ran on 3-rail O-gauge I should say. And after the war they went to 2-rail S scale, 3/16 scale. That was the main thing that they had to go against Lionel, was a scale looking track and the scale looking engines. And so anyway, toy trains are a great hobby. It's a tradition in our family for years, and we have trains from Z gauge, the little bitty ones, like if you watch some of our past videos, up to 12-inch to the foot scale also, everything in between. So we'll be doing some more videos on the trains as time goes on. So we'll see you soon. Remember, vintage is always better. Well, Mr. Obsolete and his family wishes everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. We're a traditional family with traditional values and have traditional things that we do in a family. Toy trains is one of them. I've been playing with them since I was 4 years old. Still playing with them today. The tree here is Mrs. Obsolete's. When she was a little girl, got this. Still using it today. The train we have down here was made from 1925 until 1942. This is a 1936 model here. It's also an American Flyer set. They called it wide gauge. Lionel called it standard gauge, but it was kind of an odd gauge, but it's pretty impressive. The engine and tender are 27 inches long. The cars are, you know, foot or a little longer and stuff. And runs really good, so we'll get it going for you. Well, remember, traditions are best, and toy trains are a great hobby. You can have scale trains or toy trains, anything in between, but a really good hobby yet today. So we'll see you very soon. Happy holidays to everyone, and Merry Christmas. Grey Poupon is wishing you Merry Christmas.